Welcome back. We back once again, man. It's been a while, man. No pressure, no diamonds. We here once again. What's going on, Thomas?
Man, it has been a while, bro, and I missed you, and I didn't realize it till I seen you. I was like, man, I missed this dude. Yeah, man. No, life's been good. Just busy the last few weeks, man. We actually laid my grandmother to rest finally. COVID had set some things back, and then I lost a good friend of mine. Almost 30 years, man, just shy of 30 years. I met him in '92. And was one of my best friends for a long time. Yeah,
condolences, man.
No, yeah, I appreciate it, but it got me thinking, about health and longevity, and how life is short and how we tend to take time for granted and procrastinate, thinking. I don't even know, man, and I'm so guilty of this daily. Like just thinking, oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it how. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what the word, but let's just say it's crazy to think that you are promised another second or another minute or another day or week or anything, for that matter.
Advantage of the time, man.
Yeah,
that's and just how final that really is. The physical person, right? Yep. We have our memories, but the finality, man. Of seeing, if you get a chance to see somebody, laid to rest, or, I know a lot of us have had fair share of, funerals and stuff like that, and hopefully not as many recently and stuff like that, especially over this COVID times, man. But it's just been it's crazy COVID times.
I know it's gonna be a thing, dude. It'll be in like the history books.
But just seeing like man, just how final that is, man. I've only and I've only personally been to, I don't know, probably like 3 or 4 funerals. All very close individuals,
Sure.
with family members and stuff like that. But just that feeling, man, like just that final, like, whoa, like that's the first time I'm gonna hear them or have an interaction with this person. Physical interaction, which is just pretty interesting, man. But hopefully, man, people, they in their life, man, that's one thing that's important to me now. I don't really think about this, I didn't think about this early on, and a little earlier on in my life. I'm still in the early phases of life, God willing.
Yeah.
But thinking about just the effect you leave on people, man. Like what's the effect you're gonna leave on people that and people on this, on the earth, people that know you and people that don't. And I think what they call it the dash, right? What did you do in that dash?
Oh, it's been a long time since I've heard that, man. But that is powerful, that dash.
Mm-hmm. So man, stay healthy. People, man, eat healthy, drink healthy. What you put in your body matters. I'm talking to myself right now as I say this. What we put in our body, man, is big, man.
What are you sipping on there, bro?
I'm just kidding. Just some tea. You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit of tea here, you guys. Just say, wink, wink. You know what I mean? Nah, you can see the tea bag.
Long Island iced tea.
You see it, man. Lipton tea. You know what I'm saying? Lipton.
Lipton.
You know what I'm saying?
That's funny.
But yo, man. We're back, man. It's been a little while, but guess what, man? We're back in effect, back in action, man. Had a lot of little situations happen over this. Was it almost been a month now since we've had like our last episode, man?
I think longer, man. I was trying to time it out. I think it's been like 6 weeks almost.
But a lot has happened. A lot has happened, man. Been busy. I'm gonna talk about a little, something I've been thinking of and going through my mind over this last 3 weeks, man. And I think it's indicative of some people's situations out there. I'll talk a little bit about it. And man, I think we can start with it. Being in a funk, right?
Like be in a funk, not being funky, because I'm funky sometimes. Ask about me.
Ask about me. then it was crazy. Maybe it's been just a couple of weeks, man. And it's just, and I'm gonna just be transparent. I was in a funk over the last like maybe 3 weeks. And just came out of it, thank goodness, right? Because I wouldn't be talking about it if I was still in it, because that'd be depressing. But just recently came out of it over the last like week or so. So 3 weeks before that, I was just kind of in a funk, and certain things weren't happening as I was, hoping they would happen, or as fast as I would like them to happen.
In your time frame, they weren't happening in your
my time frame. You know what I'm saying? So my time frame, which is me being and I think of myself as a pretty patient person. You know what I'm saying? But what happened was I just regressed to complacency, right? So I just regressed to complacency and didn't really do too much of anything, which allowed fear to kind of creep in. Right, which allows fear. So lack of action allows fear to kind of creep into. It leaves a lot of space for fear to creep in to start taking action again. Right. So this is like somebody that's went to the gym before, didn't go for a while, put on some weight, and now them going back to the gym is like pulling teeth. It's like it's tough. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, before you go back to the gym, after you get out of shape, you got to get in shape before you walk back into the gym. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't go in there. You can't go in there looking sloppy, my guy.
Yeah, what are the chances of that? It's like, man, I got to get back in shape before I get to the gym.
Yeah, I say that as a joke because I've heard, dude, I've actually been guilty of that. I'm like, dang, I gotta go to the gym, but man, I want to lose a little bit of weight before I go. Like, no, that's where you go to do that. You know what I mean? But like, what is that, dude? What is that about human nature that tends to avoid?
It's lack of confidence, and people aren't born with confidence. Confidence is an acquired. It's acquired, right? So confidence is acquired through action, generally, right? So no, I'm not even generally. It just is. Confidence is acquired through action, but before you take action, you have to, and this is people that like. I'll talk about it, and this is the reason why I have this book in front of me. The reason why I have a lot of these books over here today, we're going to talk about a couple of them. I just put a lot of these books in here that I've actually physically read. I've listened to a lot of books. I mean, I think we've all listened to a lot of books. Yep. But this is a stack of books I physically sat down and read. And the thought of fear came up. So when the thought of fear came up and I had to get myself out of this funk, because I think sometimes it's tough for somebody else to get you out of a funk. You really have to hone in. Like, so other folks can talk a good game to you, and it might help for a couple of minutes. It might even help for maybe an hour. It might help for just a few. But in order for you to really take yourself out of a fearful state, you have to get yourself out of it and keep yourself out of it. So one of the things I was thinking was, so when I was reading this book, and I had to go back to a chapter, and I was like, man, what was the chapter called? And it was actually called "Build Confidence and Destroy Fear," which is
fitting for the situation.
And they say it's they say fear is just in your imagination. It's really not. People say you're sick. It's just in your imagination. Well, if somebody has cancer, well, it's really not just in their imagination. You know what I'm saying? So fear is a real thing. It is real because, otherwise everybody would be doing everything they ever dreamed of doing. Everybody would be doing it, but the thing is, people are so fearful, you know what I'm saying? And people are stuck in that, are kind of stuck, and they haven't really figured out why am I not, why am I afraid? Why am I fearful? How come? And I figured out is because I wasn't taking action, and I stopped taking action. And because I stopped taking action, it allowed fear to creep in. So I was like, well, shoot, what if I don't? All right, so if I do take action, oh man, they'll probably say this, or this will probably happen, or this. All right, well, this will happen just like it did the last time. Just like the last time I did this will happen. So I had to really assess and be like, okay, why are you so focused on the result when all you need to do is just take action? You've gotten results before, a lot of results before. All you need to do is just focus on action. Just focus on taking action and consistently taking action. Because you've already proven the results. If somebody else has done it, it can be done. If somebody else hasn't, if somebody else has done it, it can be done, or it can be done.
Right.
So all you have to do is just continue to take action and assess. But I'll kind of digress, man, and you know, give you some space here to kind of elaborate on that, man, and kind of, I don't know if you ever felt that way about anything before, because man, that was me these last 3 weeks, man. It's been pretty crazy for me.
Yeah. Well, there was a part that I wanted to go back to when you mentioned confidence. When you mentioned most people aren't born with, or people are not born with confidence. It's developed. I don't know if I agree with that, and I'll tell you why, man. As a parent, my kids have all the confidence and have from the time they were very, very young. And I think adults tend, and I'm guilty of this, strip confidence from our children, right? Because if you've ever talked to a child about like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's multiple things. And there are things that as an adult, you're like, man, that's going to be challenging, or you should probably have a plan B, or that's going to be very difficult, or I don't know that you're capable of doing that, right? But like if you talk to a kid, they're confident that they can be Superman, an astronaut, a ninja, a samurai, right? A princess, the queen of the world, the president. Like they're confident that they can do all of these things. There's no limitations in their mind. And I think confidence comes from eliminating limitations. And most limitations are put on people by adults when they're children, right? So like I've done this, I'm guilty of it. And so, but it does need to be developed. It can continue to be developed. It can be developed through words of affirmation, through support, through belief, through creating opportunities, which is, as a parent, I want to create those opportunities. Like my kid wants to play baseball one season and then he wants to play soccer the next. I don't say, no, hey, if you're serious about playing baseball, this is all you're going to do. I'm like, hey, try it, right? Like life is a buffet. And as a parent, you want to give opportunities so that your children can come up with their own conclusions versus being told, no, you can't, or that's probably not likely, or whatever the case may be. So I believe that you do have confidence. I believe that it's slowly stripped, usually through no's or lack of belief that you inherit from somebody else, like an outside influence, usually parents or adults that are around you, or it could even be an older sibling, because I see my older one kind of tell the younger one like, no, you probably can't do that. I'm like, no, dude, like let them fall, let them figure it out, and so it's been a learning curve for me. But I think confidence we do have, but we do have to practice allowing people to grow in that and giving them opportunities and stuff like that. And then as far as the fear, bro, I feel you, man. Like there are a lot of things that I am or have been fearful of. And it is a real thing, right? Like you mentioned, like fear is real. But I think and I don't remember where I heard it, but I've heard people say like, it's all, that all in your mind concept, that idea. And you're like, no, it's real. Like it is, it's paralyzing. You know what I mean? It causes hesitation and stuff like that. But I think where the idea of it's all in your mind comes from is most people, again, myself included, the things that we fear 99% of the time never happen. It's this projection into the future of what could possibly happen that we have. And that's what stops us, versus, like you mentioned, if I were to just take action. The reason why, in my opinion, you taking action combats fear is because you're proven to yourself that that negative thing that you thought, or the thing that you were afraid of, never happened. right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it won't happen because you're moving forward, you're charging forward, you're getting better. It's one foot in front of the other. So I think both are true. Like, yes, it is fear. Like the fear of public speaking is a very real thing for most people. The fear of heights, I think, is like the number one fear that most people have. That's a very real thing. But the reason why people are afraid of heights is because they think that the roller coaster is going to fall off the track or something like that, or the parachute's not going to open, where 99, probably 0.9% of the time, that's not going to happen. Like everything's going to be okay. And so I think there's truth to both. And it's a great reminder, me saying that to myself, because like you, there are things that I've been fearful of, rejection or objections, in our
Mm.
business, or that type of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I don't mean to play both sides and not give a clear cut answer, but I hopefully there was some stuff there that made sense.
So what about folks, man, that hope, right? There's a lot of hopers out there, right? That like, man, I'm going through a situation, but well, I hope things turn out. I'm hopeful
Sure.
that things will turn out better. I hope for the best, but when you're just operating based on hope, then you leave yourself a lot of room to get, kind of smacked back down,
Yeah.
and
Well,
uh,
hope is not a strategy, bro. Like I think
yeah.
it's important. I think it's important to have hope or belief or even a goal, right? I have mentors that are like, hey, you need to have goals, and they're important, right? To like at least get you moving, but it's not a strategy, right? Like I watched this interview with Jim Carrey, I think, and he was talking about, like, he was being interviewed and asked about like the law of attraction or manifestation or whatever, and um, there's a story where he wrote himself a $20 million check and kept it in his wallet for years, right? And I think it was Oprah that was interviewing him, and she asked him to elaborate on that, and he was like, "Well, yeah, it's a real thing." And I'd open up my wallet and I'd see that check for $20 million, and I didn't know how I would get it. He was like, "But I didn't just write the check and then go make myself a sandwich." He said, I got to work." Right. So
Mm,
hope or a goal or whatever you want to look at, like, I think they're important, but they're not a strategy. The strategy is in the system, right?
mm,
So you could have goals, but you also you need a system to acquire those goals. Like, because just having goals or a wish or whatever the case may be, hope that it'll happen, that's just not the way it works, right? It works when we work.
it's like buying a lottery ticket.
Oh, bro, isn't it crazy? Like, I probably have some family that have this idea too, which is probably bad on my part, but or shame on me. But dude, like, people have this hope or this belief that they're gonna win the lottery. I'm like, what you should do is like cover yourself in meat, jump in the middle of the ocean, hold a key while there's a lightning storm, because you have a better chance of being struck by lightning twice and surviving a shark attack than you do winning the lottery, right? Like in your lifetime.
You wild.
Bro, I'm just saying,
That's funny.
but people, dude, I don't know, like, again, that's not a strategy. Like, unless you are doing something to actually build yourself, and you have this system in place, whether it's a saving system or earning additional income, and like, you know what I mean? Like, winning the lottery should not be a strategy.
Mm, yeah. What it makes me think of when you say that is when it comes to hope, is we must put actions in place to support our hopes.
100%.
We have to put action in place to support the hopes that we have, because otherwise, it's really just a thought. It's a passing thought in the it's a fart in the wind of a of an idea. Like,
Yeah.
it'd be great, but just being hopeful is not enough, man. Use some action and take yourself way further, man. That was huge, man. I just was thinking about that, man. So to help me kind of figure out, what my funk was, I had to go back to a book that, like, all right, I need to think a little bit bigger. And I was like, oh, well, I read a book called The Magic of Thinking Big before. We get every time we take a class, like every few months. And this is a book on the list every single time.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I can't tell you how many times I've bought not how many times I bought the book. I've had this book for a while, but I haven't read it. Looked at, oh man, nice title, looks good. And just kind of, it's kind of gained some, started listening to it and stuff like that and didn't finish. But, I really needed to take some introspection, man. And look at, I don't even know if that's a word. Look at myself.
Sounds good.
It does, even if it's made up, like, preachers be making words up. Preachers be making words up. So introspection of myself. And I was just like, you know what? This is a me thing. Nobody else can get me out this funk. No matter how,
that's right.
Outside temperature is not going to change your internal, it's not going to change your internal fire, because it'll go away in an instant. It'll go away, or outside motivations. You have to have some internal, you have to be able to, what is it, the thermostat of yourself. You have to be able to crank that thermostat of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think the only way you can kind of crank that thermostat of yourself is by taking some action. Mm-hmm. And take some action, some results happen, which creates more belief, and then more belief, take more action, it's kind of a cycle there. So,
motivation is fleeting, right? Like it'll heat the surface, but it's not going to boil the water. I think that's the biggest difference between being motivated and being inspired. Mm-hmm. Right? So you mentioned like going inside, internal, right? Like you think about inspired, the root of that word is in spirit. Mm-hmm. So you got to get it into your soul that you know what I mean, you're going to work towards whatever it is that you want to work towards, and attack that. Because motivation, again, it's temporary, man. It's fleeting. It'll be there one moment and then gone the next.
Yo, that's interesting, man, because, I was thinking, I like nice stuff, right? So I used to think nice stuff was motivating to me, is having nice stuff. And I believe I don't got nothing wrong with having nice stuff. I like looking good, right? I like nice shoes. I like to feel good. I like to have good feeling clothes on me, Yeah. I like to drive something nice, I like to live in a nice place and I like living a life of comfort. Mm-hmm. But I realized what motivated me more than having nice stuff was the being on the brink of not having something. Like the fear of not having it rather than going and getting it. Like it was like or losing it, or getting it and then losing it. Or like moving to where we live at, or whatever the case is, or being the brink of having to move back to where we came from. Like the fear of like, okay, like if I don't do this and this and this, we're gonna not be able to do this. Like we're gonna, like the fear of not being able to do something. Or, I want, like right now, like I bought a motorcycle helmet, right? So I gotta basically double all my insurance coverages on myself. But
wait, you bought the bike or the helmet?
Oh, just the helmet. Because I'm looking at the bike. I'm picking a bike out. I took the class too, so I took so next segment too. Marcus motorcycle classes.
He bought chaps too, just so you guys know. He bought
with no seat in them. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. With no seat in them.
The Prince version. Prince. What's it? Man, never mind.
Yeah, that's funny. I bought the helmet. I'm like, I gotta double it. But yeah, man. Like, so what was I saying? It was what was I saying? Oh, the fear of not having something. Yeah. And I was like, dude, if I do all this work and I'm in fear of not having it, or like I've been, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because it could be a double-edged sword, but it's like what kind of got me going. I was like, well, shoot, I'm gonna need more space to put this thing out, so I got to do this and this, so I got more space.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I got, I want this, or we want these things. We want to be able to go here, so guess what? We have to have this, and this, or else we can't go. And if we can't go, then this time I'm gonna feel if we can't go. So this is why I need, instead of just the dream of being able to go and how I'll feel when we get there. That's cool to me. This is just a me thing, and I don't know if other people feel like that way. But to me, it's the fear of not going rather than the enjoyment and actually going to, like, say, a great a great vacation or something like that, or going on a great honeymoon, which you're going to be taking, by the way. But it's the fear of not going. It's the fear of like, man, we get all the way to that date and we don't have it. You know what I'm saying? And rather than the fear of, oh, we get to that date and we finally get to go. I think it's just how my mind, I had to figure that out for myself. Yeah. And that inspires me. I'm like, well, shoot. Like, man, or, you know, just anything. But I think what happened was I had some, I don't know. I'll talk a little more about that. But it was just interesting to me that, you know, I had to flip my frame of thinking. Because they talk about, oh, this beautiful life and what it'll look like when you have this. Like, man, what if I get there and I can't have all this stuff? You know? And I'm like, well, shoot, I want to. And then when I get it, it'll be a relief. Like, oh, cool. What's the next thing? You know, like, because I notice I get bored really quick too. You know,
well, when you get bored of them shoes, man, slide them this way.
Man, that was another thing too, man. Hey, so I could have been here just in socks, man. I was like, man, I got to get up and get ready to go in and do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, let me get ready. You know, because I got to have just some shorts on or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Or those chaps.
Thank you for dressing completely, fully.
But yeah, man, you almost have to trick yourself.
Yeah, whatever works, man. I mean, there's I relate to what you just said because goals and stuff don't always motivate me. Sometimes I take inventory of the things that I hate because I'm not where I want to be just yet. You know what I mean? And I like nice things too. I hate more maybe sometimes checking the cost of some things or whatever. Like, I hate that, bro. I hate it. I just, you know, when you take inventory of the things that you hate, they could absolutely be motivating too. And it's interesting because I think Malcolm X, is the one who said it, right? Or it was either Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, one of those great men that said, that which you do not hate, you will tolerate. Right? And that stood out to me, right? Because if you don't hate your circumstance, you're not really going to do anything to change it. It's, I guess that would be what comfort zone, your comfort, your complacency, that type of stuff. So,
ouch.
I think, I think hate could be powerful when it's used in the right way, when it's used for self-development and, moving yourself forward. I think that's powerful. I actually don't like that word hate, because it's usually like people say like, oh, I hate other people. And I just don't, man. I'm a person lover. But yeah, but I think when you internalize it and it comes down to circumstance, I think it could really create change if you're in the right state of mind. So I'm glad that you found that out, bro, for yourself, because that's powerful,
man.
And it may switch in 3 weeks, right? And then you may be goal motivated or driven or whatever. Who knows? Or
it's like we hated having hair. So guess what?
I hated buying shampoo.
You know what I'm saying? Nah, man, but that was, yeah. So for whatever it is for anybody out there, man, so whatever it's for you, you have to figure that out though, because otherwise you might hit plateaus. You might, you'll find yourself plateauing and maybe not know why, or in a rut and may not know why. And you really have to diagnose that fear. Remember that music video? That's crazy. That's funny.
Was that Color Me Bad?
Yeah, man.
I know this one.
Dang, man. Look how they used to dress, dog. They was out there swerving. Nah, but that's funny. But yeah, man, like it's just you have to diagnose it.
Yeah.
You have to diagnose it so know what got you to get to that point. So that when if it comes up again, you can before you slip too deep into that crevice. Squash those thoughts, and you can put hopefully people around you that can help bring you out of that. Man, your environment has a whole lot to do with that too.
I was just gonna say,
your environment. Sometimes if you're just around you, it get really easy to kind of slip into some thoughts like that. You have to really be kind of crazy. You could change your mental environment by reading kind of books like this and listening to certain things and stuff like that can start you. But I think also you want to physically start getting around some people with masks if you need them, right? I mean, now I don't think we need no masks no more. But you got to start getting physically around some folks, man.
Or
That
at
can
least just
pull
get
you
out,
up.
man. Get your blood moving. Get some sunshine.
Yeah.
Listen to some water running, or you know what I mean, a creek or something, like whatever it is that works. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head, dude. Sometimes we get the funk starts by just being in a stagnant ass environment,
That's a
and
swamp.
yeah, man, it just breeds nothing.
Yeah.
Like just nothing worthwhile. So
Swamps stink, rivers don't. You know what I'm saying?
100%, man. The Dead
Ew.
Sea doesn't move and nothing can grow in it. That's why it's called the Dead Sea. You need to move. Yeah, you need to change your environment. You need to think about what you think about as well, right? Like I had heard somebody in our company once. She was training. You may have been there at one of the old offices upstairs in Valencia, and she said what one of the most powerful things that she learned how to do was tell herself shut up. And she was like shut up, right? And what she was talking about was when those negative thoughts, that fear or whatever starts to creep in, or that doubt or the insecurities and those types of things, she would just tell herself shut up, right? Like how incredible is it that we literally have the power to change our thought process by monitoring what we're thinking. Right. And I don't think people take advantage of it. They just like fall down this rabbit hole of pity or whatever the case may be, dude. And you just need to tell yourself shut up and then do something about it.
Man, shut your mouth, dog. Shut your thoughts, man. Shut all that up.
Yeah, not all thoughts serve us.
Most don't.
Exactly.
Man, I wonder if there's a way somebody's counted thoughts of somebody. I wonder if there's a way that somebody could they could count, when a thought is firing in somebody's brain.
I'm sure there is, dude.
That'd be interesting, man. That'd be interesting, man. Like, oh man, I took this quote from Kobe, man. He said, "Rest at the end, not in the middle. Rest at the end."
Mamba mentality.
Until the job gets done. You know what I'm saying? Until the job gets done, man. I think and this can be with, you may have certain goals or certain things we put out for ourselves. And what happens is you reach a level to where you're comfortable now. And then now you feel good. And then you stop doing what got you to that point. And you may plateau or you slide back down the scale.
Isn't that why it's so hard, man, in sports for teams to repeat? Right? Because they accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. So speaking of Kobe, I read a story, and it's probably not 100% accurate, so don't quote me. Go do your own research and figure it out. But I heard that after he got that first ring, all he wanted to do was be a champion, right? Like that was his major focus. But after he got that first ring, the ring ceremony, I heard he opened it up, looked at it, put it away, and then left it in a safe. He never wore it. And people asked him, like, why didn't he wear it? And he's like, because it wasn't about that one. It was about the next one. Like he wanted to go out and get the next one. He understood himself so much that he didn't even really want to celebrate. He celebrated after the win. Yeah, bro. Right. So he didn't want to wear it. He didn't walk around flossing or doing any of that. It was like, okay, that's one. On to the next one. He put it in a safe and never looked at it again till he got the next one. Right. And he did that 3 times in a row. He three-peated, dude. You know what I mean? So hard to do, bro. To keep that fire burning after you accomplish, like you just mentioned, not once, not twice, but 3 times, like that. That takes a very disciplined, hungry, ambitious mentality, and it's not easy to do, man. That is, there's a huge separator from champions to what he was, what Jordan was, what, you know what I mean, like
to wanting to be the best.
Yeah.
So a championship, whether it's in sports or in life or, you know, anything really, right? Sports, you know, it's from something bigger than the championship itself. That's what being the best in your own opinion, you know, in your own opinion or your own life is. You know, all these other things come because of that. Because he's focused on being the best and being the best that he could possibly be, and bringing people along with that. You know, or holding a high standard. So if you're on our team, we don't celebrate Western Conference champions. What?
Yeah.
Job's
not done.
Job's not done. Like, what are we doing here? We got y'all over here celebrating that crap? Nah, dog, we win championships here. We don't put up conference final.
Unless you're a Clipper. That's a Clippers banner.
You know what I'm saying? But that, like, we don't do that, and it's from holding a high set of standards.
Right.
It's like get in there and then holding that standard. Get in there, holding that standard, and then what happens is you start attracting just dogs around you. You know what I'm saying? You start attracting, you know, people around and people that have certain skills you might not have, but they're a certain dog in their own right, you know, and their own abilities. But man,
yeah, I think it becomes infectious.
Yeah, it does, and what it does, it just breeds that mentality, man. It breeds that mentality, and everybody around you, you will filter out without even having to tell people, or without even having to let other folks know to kind of get out of your way or get out of your life or whatever. They'll just start filtering themselves out because they may not think they can reach that standard. So what happens is they kind of fade away. Doesn't mean they're not a good person. Doesn't mean that they're not important. They just don't. They just
the environment was too hot.
It was too hot, man. Some people. You gotta what Tommy said. You gotta keep those ribs in the cooker.
On
man.
the cooker.
They're not done.
Shut up, ribs. Get back in there.
Get back in there. Man, shout out to Tommy P, man. TP3, man. Shout out to you, man.
The pastorpreneur.
You know what I'm saying? But people fade out, you know, and people are meant to be in phases, man. Some folks are meant to be your friends or around you for a certain amount of time, and you know, you catch and release.
Yeah. Well, let's go deep on that, man, because I think in personal development in that space, there's even a part of us that needs to fade out.
Yo.
But there's parts of ourselves that we got to catch and release. That self-awareness, right? We got to catch the bad stuff and release that. And you know what I'm saying? Like, we got to heat up our own environment, bro, and stuff. And that's the biggest challenge with entrepreneurship. That's the biggest challenge, is that self-awareness, becoming what you need to become, letting go of the stuff that doesn't serve you, right? Like, and changing your environment, changing your state. And I think the number one environment to change is sitting on top of our shoulders. But it's the one thing that people hold on to the most.
Yo.
Myself included, man. I've been guilty of it.
Check this out, dog. Check this out. Another Kobe thing. Man, all the love, man. One of the greatest. Another Kobe thing. When Kobe retired from basketball, he was done with basketball. Basketball was the most important thing in his life up until he retired, right? Mm-hmm. So right after he retired, he went right into business, and he was focused on whether it's business and storytelling. You know, he became so involved and so crazy involved with that. I remember, I'll see if I can pull up a video of that. But somebody asked him, like, "Man, do you miss basketball? He's like, I'm done with basketball. Like, what? You know, like, it'll always be a part of my life, but I have literally no, like I don't want to play anymore. I'm so focused on what I'm doing now that, you know, it takes most of my energy. Mm-hmm. So what happens is some people, they try and be the best in all these different things. You try to be best in a lot of different things. When you know what you need to be doing is focus on what you're doing and be the best at what you're doing right now. Be the best. Get, whatever that is, be the best at that. And it's funny because I was like, I go to the gym and started working out. Trying to get this this little bit of a whatever. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta look
Together,
good in them
you know what I'm saying?
chaps.
Gotta look good. And we're who was it? I play basketball and stuff like really just to stay in shape. And I do like some workouts with some folks. And I'm like, just some workouts, just stay in shape. I'm not trying to go to the NBA. I'm not trying to play college basketball. I'm not trying to do any of that stuff because I know the mental focus you have to be great at that. You know what I'm saying? And and I was realizing like, I'm doing this to get into shape for my own self. I'm not doing it to go to the NBA. I'm not doing it. There's a phase in my life where I thought that was a possibility for me to do that. That phase is over. I had to cut that off at that point. I can't have any focus there. I can't be splitting the baby here. And it doesn't mean you can't be a good father if you're good at business. It can't mean you can't be a good husband or wife if you're focused in business or being good at It doesn't mean certain areas of your life have to totally fall by the wayside because you're focused at being successful in this one area. But a lot of the extra activities that you're doing or hobbies that don't serve you really or things that don't drive your number one source, you gotta let those things go, man. Like, can't be the jack of all trades, master of none, man. We gotta focus. Gotta focus. And I noticed that about myself. I was like, I'm trying to get too good at too many different things. Let me get good at this. You know what I'm saying? And be great at this. If this is what I'm choosing to do with my life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I got folks out here, playing, weekend warrior all-stars, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, this thing ain't, I'm not going to the league and this is free. We paying to play this. This is not like, come on, man. Like, right. Like, come on, dog. So it was just kind of interesting. And I noticed that when I was doing the workouts, I was like, well, I'm not going to the freaking league. Like, why am I getting mad if I miss a shot? I'm not going to the NBA. It's okay. But it's just funny, man. I think it's the competitiveness in me too.
No, 100%, bro. I don't like to lose
at all. You know what I'm saying? But am I spending my everyday working out, shooting 1,000 shots a day, playing basketball? No. I need to be shooting my 1,000 shots, reaching out to new contacts and new businesses and stuff like that.
It is.
So I can play. So I can play for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? It's like so my family can play, and so I can affect the world. You know what I'm saying? And, that's why Kobe's business acumen in just a couple of years after he was retired was just insane.
Yeah,
it was insane because he was super focused on, and he was asked questions. He asked. He's so curious. He's a very curious person.
Well, he was a learner, dude.
Yeah.
He was willing to learn and to hone his craft and all of that stuff and work on it, right? So, I hear you, crazy, man. You got to focus on one thing. And I think that's one of the, I've seen a lot of memes or whatever they're called on Instagram where it says like the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. And, I don't know, that may be true, but what is even more true is chances are they got good at one and then branched out. They weren't focused on 7 different areas like you mentioned. It was one thing that they got really freaking good at, and then they started adding additional pieces. Yep. Right? Like you can't go to college and master 7 different subjects. Like that's not how anything works. I don't understand why in the business space people think like, oh, I'm gonna be a real estate agent, investor, broker. I'm going to day trade. I'm going to have a multi-level marketing business. I'm going to start a mobile detailing. I'm gonna do all like foo.
Everything's gonna be mediocre. At best it'll be mediocre, and hopefully, at best everything's gonna be mediocre. And if you try and spin all these freaking plates, bro, you're spinning all these plates, one's wobbling, nothing's doing it, so you try to pick that up when there's no way. There's no way. And it is so funny.
Well, you'll get blown out of the water by the one person like that is focused. Like there's other people that are doing the same thing you're doing, right? But that's all they're doing. You're doing that and 6 other things, and then there's a person out there that's 1,000% focused on that one thing. They're gonna blow you out of the water. They're gonna take your lunch. You know what I mean? And then you got to drop that and figure something back something else back out. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah, there's no way you can take 5 self-employed businesses and try and do 5 of them all by yourself. There's no way.
There's only one of you.
There's only one of you, and the only way you can even get through the cash flow quadrant here. Oh wow, what a nice little segue into this little book here that maybe.
How convenient, Alex, that you just had that there.
How convenient. Really great book. All right, man. We're not getting paid for none of this stuff. Maybe one of these, hey, you want to do a little sponsorship, man. We appreciate you doing it.
Shout out Robert Kiyosaki.
Shout out Robert Kiyosaki, man. Maybe you want to hop on one of the podcasts. We can ask you some questions or something, man. We'd love to do that.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
But, cash flow quadrant, man. Most people, most people start as employees just because 95% of the people out there are employees, right? Mm-hmm. And you can go to self-employed because they're like, man, I want to work for somebody else. But then they're self-employed, like I control my own hours. You have to boss yourself around, right? And then they pick up all these different self-employed business, if they choose to do more than one, to pick up all these self-employed things. And none of those things will, like you said, you'll get blown out the water by the person that all they focus on is their mobile detailing business and growing their mobile detailing business. So they'll go from their mobile detailing business will become an actual business because they're focused on that. Somebody has 4 different self-employed things, none of them will become a business. You'll always just be running around like a chicken with your head cut off.
Well, you own a job in that bracket, right? Like most self-employed business owners, and don't get me wrong, man, I'm not knocking it, but you own a job.
First phase of freedom. That's the first phase of freedom.
Yeah. I mean, you're moving in the right direction, but you own a job, meaning if you don't show up, if you can't take a day off and still have income generated, that business owns you, meaning you have to constantly show up, right? So you essentially you just own a job, right? Like maybe you're your own boss, but you're also your own source of income. And that's not a business. A business owner can take a day or 2 or 3 or a week or a month off and still have income generated. Why? Because there's a system. Maybe there's a team of people that are working that system or whatever the case may be, but that is business ownership, not you having a pool cleaning service and you're the only person doing it, right? Like you're self-employed.
Yeah. And if you only for all our self-employed people, you have like 3-4 guys working for you or something like that, you're still self-employed, by the way, because too much is banking on one person. You're better than a single self-employed person. Sure. When we talk about a business owner, we're talking about the B in here, we're talking about a bigger business owner. This is somebody that has a 30, 40, 50, not even that, more than that, 100 plus people. So no, if they take off, if they leave, their income should continue to go up because their business is continuing to grow no matter what. Maybe when they're there, it's growing at a much faster pace, but they can leave and their business and come back and they make more income. We hear stories of this all the time. Yeah. We know people that have left for multiple years from their businesses, to go do other things, and their business has increased, sometimes doubled or tripled or quadrupled because they put in systems in place to do that. Yeah. And then eventually, guess what? Then you become an investor, and then you can have multiple other streams of income, right? Then you can start tapping into other things you have interest in and stuff like that. But most people that are millionaires, and when I say millionaires, I mean generating $1 million in cash flow, by the way, not just on paper millionaires, generating cash flow like that, then,
Dude, I read something. Actually, no, I didn't read something. A friend of mine kind of went through some numbers, bro, for McDonald's, right?
Mm,
So you know, McDonald's, an average location generates anywhere from like 1.2 to like 2.3 million, if I'm remembering correctly, like
mm-hmm.
annually. But after operating costs, after payroll, right? After product, after franchise fees, after all of that stuff, the average owner of a McDonald's location brings in anywhere from 150 to $250,000 a year. So they have $1 million business, right? They're generating seven figures, but what they're actually pocketing is in the low sixes.
Mm.
Is that crazy? Think about all the liability there with that too. Where you got, if your coffee's too hot, you're about to get sued if somebody spills it on them. You know what I mean,
Oh
and things like
man,
that. Like,
yo,
it's just interesting. So yeah,
cost to do
when
business, man. Traditional
yeah,
business.
when
Oh,
we're talking millionaires in our industry, particularly our organization, we're talking about seven figure generated cash flow, like
yeah,
net, like in your pocket, not
yeah,
we don't pay employees, right?
yeah.
We don't have any of those costs of traditional business, and I freaking love that. There's no little to no overhead um,
Well, and also
in our
too,
organization.
I think that the framework of a traditional business is changing, man. It's you know, um, or not. I'm gonna say it's 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 um it's expanding because there's so many new ways to generate income without having to have large expenses,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like a restaurant, like you break it down, a restaurant is you're in, if you're in a restaurant and you're in a location, that location is insanely expensive. When for you to generate a net $1, you've had to spend $10
Yep.
to net $1.
Yep.
Yo, that's crazy. I gotta give you $10. You gonna give me back 11. So I net $1.
Yep.
And then I pay taxes on that $1.
Yeah, that's why restaurants are a nickel and dime business, and I know because I spent 15 years working in one, and
Mm.
a few of those years managing one. And yeah, man, it is a nickel and dime business. Like
Oh man.
if you're not counting everything, you're losing. It's
Oh
like it's
man.
so crazy, man. It's a tough industry.
Cost to acquire customers. And most people really don't think about this when they go into having a business, man. What does it cost you to get a customer? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you even equate that? Like, how much money are you spending to get somebody to walk into your door? To walk into your door and buy, not even just to walk into your door, to walk into your door and to buy something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the cost to acquire customers? What's the cost to do?
Well, I
That's
mean, if you
very
scale
interesting.
it
Yeah.
all the way down, well, first you got to have a place for them to walk into. The lights got to be on. You got to have all the product. You got to have, you know what I mean? You got to have a staff to welcome and greet and take the order and execute the order and all of this stuff. Like it's bananas, dude. When you think about traditional business, man, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably why most people stay self-employed because they're like, man, in the traditional sense of business, like I don't know if I'm in a position to scale it and
Mm-hmm.
can afford to scale it and things like that. So
Scaling it. Oh man, I gotta pay somebody now.
yeah, and you got to have workman's comp and you got to have, you know, the liabilities and you got to have all of this stuff. And California's now is about to make it mandatory where you got to provide a retirement plan for any business that has 5 employees or more. And if not,
Mm-hmm.
then the state's going to come in and impose their own plan. And so like there's so many things when it comes to that the idea of traditional business. So yeah, cost is one, man. The overhead on all of that is just, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Man, so it's putting yourself, and that's why now more than ever, people are all right. What can I get in with probably the I don't know. Some people might be thinking this. What kind of business can I get in with the least amount of barrier of entry, right? With the most upside potential, right? So you see all these people, they have YouTube channels, right? They're doing podcasts, they're doing all these, which is still a self-employed thing, right? Um, but until you get it to a point where it's not, but it's you see all online business, the Amazon stuff. You know what I'm saying, like
Yeah,
all
e-commerce and drop shipping
e-commerce,
and all that. I
and
think they're all great, by the way, too. But there's a lot of cost in it.
yeah,
I have a cousin who's looking at starting something very similar to that, and she's spent now a few $1,000s on a mentor to teach her how to build the website and do all of this stuff, right? So we're talking already a few $1,000s, and it's still not off the ground running yet, right? Then there comes the purchasing of product and having that product to market, right? Because you can't just market and not have stuff. Like, you need to have stuff. You got to have inventory and those types of things. So I think it could potentially be great. And yeah, people are making a killing, but they're literally putting in thousands of dollars. And here's the thing: you should have to pay something, right?
yeah.
If you're listening to this and you're like, man, I want to start a business, but I ain't got no money to start, like, you better figure something out, right?
Yeah,
Because like, there's a cost, man.
yeah,
Whether it's in a license or a certificate or the education aspect or the development of, like, I mean, how much money you got just sitting on this table right now for what we're doing, you know, with
man.
books and seminars and all the equipment to run this podcast and all, like, there's cost involved. But to answer your question, what type of business? I don't know, find one. But I found one. We found one,
Yeah,
right? And the only cost was in our certifications and our licenses and stuff, which, by the way, if you're paying for a college education, you're paying for the same damn thing. So don't be thinking like, oh,
man.
that's dumb. I wouldn't do that, right? Like,
Yo, that's interesting, man. And we're gonna do an episode on that too. We're gonna do a money episode, man, because that's
let's talk
you know
currency.
what I'm saying, because that's a big topic, especially now. I was thinking about talking about some things like debt, especially over this COVID time, right? Like, just the ratios of how debt's been affected, personal debt, all that stuff. Talk about savings. We're going to talk about life insurance. We're going to talk about long term care. Maybe even get some input and some other professionals
Talk
in
about
those
tax
arenas.
advantages. Talk about
Mm-hmm.
understanding
Taxes.
how money grows, right? The rule of 72, compound interest, and
Yeah,
what that looks like. I think we're gonna add a ton of value right now in these
man.
next couple of episodes, because, by the way, if you didn't know, that's our area of expertise.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it, man. That's because that's a must, man. And people, the thing is, people want to have money, right? People want to have, because guess what? I mean, if you don't have money, you can't operate. Or you can, but it won't. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you really can't.
No, you can't.
You can't.
Bro. What are you gonna do?
I mean,
Even people that don't have money on the sidewalk, what are they asking for?
money.
Bruh.
Oh man. So it's like you need to know how money works. People need to progress. And if you want to improve your life and style of life, like I said, style of life,
Sure.
if you want to improve your health, right? If you want to be able to get access to the best type of health care,
Sure.
right? If you want to improve your living situation, if you want to move out of your neighborhood, if you want to move your mom out of her neighborhood, then guess what? You need to have some money.
Yeah, it's not everything, dude, but it's up there with,
Man,
like, oxygen.
man, it's way up there.
And you know what, bro? Like,
You know what I'm
look,
saying?
maybe you don't want to improve your life. Maybe you're comfortable with where you are, and that's fine. Like, there's no knock on that. But even in that scenario, chances are you probably just have a job. Again, no knock on that. But if that job was taken away from you and you can't sustain, and you go immediately into panic mode like most people did in 2020, you should probably learn how money works. You should probably learn to use what you actually are at least, bringing in, and how that can benefit. Maybe you don't want a mansion or you don't want to travel the world. That's fine. But you need to know how to manage what you do have, right? You have a responsibility to yourself to at least figure that out and not put yourself in a corner and go into panic mode and dig yourself a hole like so many people have done in our country. And I just think the system's broken, bro. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the system is broken when it comes to understanding these things. And and we need to educate more people. People need to learn this stuff. It's not a want anymore. Like, it's a necessity. Here's the bottom line, like you kind of alluded to at the beginning. We're going to use money for the rest of our lives. When are you going to learn how it works? Mm-hmm. You might as well figure it out.
When you learn, and it's also learning how to generate money on your own.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Learning how to generate money on. So even if you do have a job, you know how to go get money yourself. You have to know your skill sets, learning skills about yourself. So I could go get money. Even if I didn't have a job, I could go get money. Mm-hmm. Like, I could go get some money. If I don't want to go get, I could go get it.
Legally, morally, and ethically, by the way.
You know what I'm saying?
Because I could get money too.
But it's having just, people get so comfortable, you know what I'm saying? And they're like, oh, well, cool, I could just show up and they're just going to give me some money. But it's like, think about, like, because I had this thought too. So when I used to work at a telecommunications company, right? Sales and then beyond, right? And managing all that. So I used to think, man, I'm selling this for this. How much are they making? I used to just think that. How much is the company make? Because I know what I got paid. And I used to feel good about what I got paid. I was like, man, boom, like, shoot. I may like have her like whatever thousands of dollars it was. I'd say it was $5,000 for the month or something like that, or 4,000 or whatever. And I was like, man, it was more money than I seen. My life, no expenses. I was like, oh shoot, this is fire. And then I did the math on how much was being generated. So I was just me in 1 month was generating probably $40,000 to $50,000 of recurring revenue. Mm-hmm. Recurring revenue for the business. And I was getting paid once $4,000, and I'm generating 50,000 of recurring revenue.
Oh, you mean you don't get paid residual as an employee?
Man, it was crazy. I was like, yo, this is nuts. You know what I mean? I was like, this is crazy. So then I was like, man, this is insane. And I started doing the math, and I was like, okay, well, guess what? I need to be focusing in an area where I can be getting paid recurring revenue, where I can build a recurring revenue stream. It's not enough for me to just get paid one time, man. No matter how much it is, it's great to get paid a lot, to get paid one time. But guess what? That's the hole a lot of people fall into. So guess what? If you're only getting paid one time for the work that you're doing, then guess what? You only got paid the one time. So guess you're unemployed you're unemployed again the next day. You're unemployed the next month. So getting recurring revenue is a big deal. But that's what it made me think. That was like one of my first instances of being an employee and knowing I'm a freaking employee. Dang.
Bro, I did that when I was managing the restaurant, and I even made a mistake. Dude, salary sucks. Let me just say that.
Salary and slavery are very, very closely. They almost sound the same.
I made the mistake because the restaurant I worked at, man, we generated over $3 million a year, probably close to $4 million a year in money generated. Right,
in one location,
bro, and yeah, I wasn't getting paid what I thought. I mean, there was 4 managers, right, and we worked pretty evenly. So I would say, well, I was generating probably for that location about $1 million. Of that 4, I was bringing in a quarter of it by being there, managing the staff, right, rotations, all of this stuff. I was very hands on. But I was getting paid a fraction of that. And by the way, like, my bonuses at the end of the year were like a thank you card. Because they wouldn't give us a bonus. They would say, hey, on your behalf, we've donated your bonus to a charity. And I'm like, dang. Oh yeah, well, thank you for allowing me to make that decision. Like, bro, it was just a thank you card for that. So there were no bonuses, there were no incentives, dude. It was a flat rate. Everything about my life revolved around my work schedule. Like, I couldn't make a dentist appointment without checking my work schedule. I couldn't have a day off without putting in a request 3 weeks in advance. I had to ask another man 3 weeks in advance if I could have a day off. You know what I mean? And then they can say yay or nay. And if they said nay, then change of plans, right? No time with family, no get together, no whatever. Like, yeah, again, nothing wrong with having a job, man. Like, it's important.
You know what I'm saying?
However, it wasn't for me.
You know, and like you said, whatever you don't hate, you're willing to tolerate.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So get yourself in the position where you can make that decision for you. If you have a job, if you can make that decision for yourself, I don't need to be here anymore. Then you can. If you want to stay there, then stay there. But if you put yourself in a financial position to not have to be there, you know what I'm saying? But that's going to take you digging somewhere in there because you're going to have to put something else on your plate. You know what I mean? You're going to have to put something else on your plate and generally probably take a couple other things off of your plate.
Oh, bro, you may have to sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't just jump into entrepreneurship, and I don't think you did either, man. Like, I had a job, and I was working 5 and 6 days a week. Went back to bartending so I could have some flexibility somewhat of schedule. But, bro, I was working 5, 6 days a week, and in my free time, I was building what we currently have.
So you got to work 8 days a week if you want to have a business and a job, by the way.
Bro, like closing a bar on Friday night and getting home at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, waking up at 7:30 to get ready and drive down from Palmdale to Agora Hills to get some mentorship and training and work, and then come back, sleep for a couple hours and get ready and go back to work. Like, there was a sacrifice, but there was, I don't even like that word. There was a commitment to being able to, there was an exit strategy from that job, right? And it was my commitment level to sacrificing some free time.
Yeah, man, that's, and if you really, people are like, man, but I don't have time to do anything. Yeah, you do. Well, I just got you got time.
Oh, dude, if you just monitored where you spend your time for a week, right, you'd be surprised. And I'm still guilty of this, man. Like, sometimes at the end of the week, I'm disgusted with like 7 hours a day on average of screen time or whatever it is, right? Like, how much time do we spend wasting?
Yeah, one of my goals is to get my actual phone time just up, like the phone call time, talk time. Trying to get my minutes. Now we all on unlimited minutes, man. We ain't gotta be worried about minutes no more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You don't gotta wait till after 7 o'clock, right?
Oh, man, long distance. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff, man. But
it's so crazy.
You know, that's interesting, man. People are really, really, really people me. You know, I've taken advantage of my time. You know, I've taken,
oh, me too.
You know, I've really just taken advantage of my time in a lot of different stuff. So we talk to a lot of stuff. We talking to ourselves in a lot of these instances.
But you know what's incredible though, man. We got to give ourselves some credit too. I'm going to give myself some credit because I don't waste as much time as I used to waste. I used to waste an entire weekend watching Lakers games and 49er games or Dodger games and sitting on the couch having beers and eating chips. And I used to waste a lot of time doing that. All of my free time during the week, if I was off during the day, I'm watching Sports Center and all this and that. And like, we justify the time wasting with the little bit that we do. Right? Oh, I work 40 hours a week. I deserve this. Like, well, you if that's what you're settling for, right? But if you deserve more, if you want more, then you deserve to sacrifice some time away from the Teletube and Netflix and, you know, DirecTV or whatever it is that you watch. And so I've gotten better at that. I'm not saying that I don't waste time. I do. I just don't waste as much now. And it feels freaking good because we've created a little bit of freedom for ourselves. You know what I mean? The ability to take a day off and
plan
enjoy
to
our
waste
children.
some time.
Yeah, man, and
So,
hit the beach and have a picnic and do things like that, or take a little vacation for a day or two.
Plan it in.
Work towards that. And,
having a plan will help with a lot of stuff. It doesn't mean that plans always go as planned. But if you at least have a plan on how you're going to operate, then what happens is when you are quote unquote wasting. You're not wasting time because that's time you planned for it to happen.
Yep.
You're only really wasting time when when you're doing something during your planned
schedule.
work time and you're not doing that actual work that you had planned that you plan to do. But if you have no plan, then it's just unaccounted for time, really. So have a plan, pre-plan is probably one of the hardest things to do. It sounds simple, but it is one of the hardest things to do and continue to do, because people are people and people aren't perfect.
Well, because it's a discipline.
Yeah.
And people don't like discipline, right? Like, I think, dude, for as long, at least for me, dude, when I was a kid, all I wanted to do was be an adult so that I didn't have to be disciplined to what my parents' instructions were, right? And I think a lot of times, man, that's the one thing that we're avoiding is discipline. Because we feel like we've deserved it because we're now 18 or 19 or 25 or 36 or whatever. Insert your age, man. But if you're looking to avoid discipline, you have a hard time being successful in anything.
Yeah. Yet the front load in time is just like any financial product.
Like a mutual fund.
There you go. When you front load financial assets, they pay dividends on the back end. They pay more and more dividends on the back end. But if you trickle in assets over just a little bit of assets, over time here and there, eventually it'll grow and you'll have some assets you can take out over, later down the road if you trickle it in. But the more you put in the beginning, you're going to have way more on the back end.
Yep.
Because there's more and more doubling up. The compound effect is compounding much more faster. But that's why people that generally have a job and they're kind of self-employed and doing something, and they do that for a long period of time, they may end up having a better life overall down the road, maybe. But the person that really puts in 100% of their effort, I mean, and I'm not saying that they don't sleep, but I'm just saying somebody puts to say they work, they work to have an exit plan from their job, then they put 100% of effort into their business, they're self-employed, and then they start growing into a business and those things. Their freedom happens way sooner than somebody that's kind of trickling in successes, like, smaller successes over time. You know what I'm saying? And I think I've seen that in our business. I've seen that with myself. I've seen it, and it's just because I didn't plan the work. I didn't put in enough effort on the front end, or we didn't put it, or you don't
you
put
just
enough.
Didn't keep your head down long enough,
That's
bro.
it. That's taking a rest in the middle and not resting at the end. We rest too much in the middle. Work until the job gets done. Dang. You know what I'm
Slap
saying?
yourself. Drop the
yourself,
mic.
man. Work until the job gets done, man. But this was fire. I think we probably gonna cut this bad boy up. But man, dude, this felt good to get back in the booth.
Yes, sir.
Felt good to get back in the booth.
Yes, sir.
And tap into some stuff, man. I was, I think that we should definitely on our on our next one, man. We're going to talk about some cool stuff, financial stuff, man. I think most people really don't know how long-term care works. Why you even need it? Most people don't know a lot of people don't even know what it is. The effects of it. I want to start getting some experts in on some, even just some experts. You know what I'm saying? That deal specifically with things like that. And why? Because you just get some people some exposure to the knowledge we know, and have learned over years.
Well, the options are out there, man. Like that's the thing. Like everything is out there and available for us to take advantage and position ourselves and our families in a better way, a more lucrative way. But if you don't know, you don't know, right? And so we want to bring to you some value in specific areas that, again, we specialize in, and maybe not completely our experts. We'll bring some people in for you as well, but we want to add some value to you. I think that was the initial goal with this podcast, was to bring some value. And right now we're just seeing that there's a huge need for the information that we have access to, and we're going to bring it to you in a way that's very understandable, in hopes that you take it and run with it. Or if you have additional questions, then maybe you can reach out and we want to help, man. We're, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, and I'm pretty confident that you feel the same way, man. But we're here to serve. We're here
Yeah,
to serve
man.
the community in more ways than one. But we haven't talked enough about what we specialize in, but where you're seeing that it's absolutely important and imperative, and there's a lot of people that are looking for it. In fact, I got to get to an appointment here in the next like 25 minutes to go help some people understand some of these concepts that we're going to be talking about in the very near future. So
shoot, man. Well, today was great. We are here to contribute, not to confuse. You know what I'm saying?
100.
Man, but man, today was great. Glad to get back in on it, man. And we will be putting more and more of these out again, man. Now we back on that horse. So man, without further ado, man, no pressure.
No diamonds.
Let's get it.